Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Today's episode is sponsored by our good friends at Rock Creek Coffee Roasters, home of small batch, freshly roasted coffee. And who doesn't like freshly roasted coffee? Our guest today is Colin True. Colin is an outdoor enthusiast and host of his own podcast called the Rockfight podcast. Colin, it's a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series.
Howard, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. Now, Colin and I exchanged some messages on LinkedIn. He's also had I'm sure the pleasure of being on a good friend of mine, his podcast, Rick Says, the Outdoor Biz podcast. And so, hey, if Colin, you must be good because Rick is a tough customer, man. Not everybody gets on his show.
Yeah, he's in demand. Huh? He's probably been doing it the longest of any of us, right? I mean, I guess Fitzcahall and the Dirtbag Diaries is probably still the OG, but I think Rick is right up there.
He's right up there. Good episodes too. And I have to say, as I was doing research for this episode, I went back to yours on your directories where the episodes reside, and I love the rapid fire nature, the very pointed conversation, and the fact that you kept these episodes to around 10, 15 minutes. I thought, geez, though, that's what I need to do.
I think our shortest one so far is 3 minutes, and that's about 90 seconds worth of intro and outro. The one about shirtless dudes in the climbing gym was pretty much just don't do that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of short content. I think also as an upstart podcaster and someone who's trying to gain an audience, I believe that someone's going to take a flyer on a 5-minute podcast more than a 120-minute podcast if they don't know who I am. So that's the basis of the hot takes. It was like, and also they're easy to produce. I don't have to tell you that producing a podcast takes a lot of time. And if I got a template going and it's just a matter of I can bang out a bunch of opinions I've had after a long career in the outdoor industry, now I have a way that I can create content and also hopefully make it entertaining at the same time.
Oh, entertaining it is. And I'm really interested too. Maybe this is an offline conversation. I mean, in my intro, I have some music and I'm about ready to upgrade the music. I've
Okay.
had it for a long time. And you have music throughout the episode. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool.
I think sound design matters. I think there's a little bit of, I don't know if you listen to Radio Lab. I mean, they go really far with it. And obviously we're talking about a show with a real team of people behind it. But I think if you can do that part of it right, and that's not easy to do. I think sound design, you can go too far with it too, and it can become overwhelming. But I think where you place the music and the timely little effect or a movie quote or something like that can really just push the experience into a different spot. And even if they're short episodes, it's a narrative podcast. I write every episode.
Yeah.
So it's not a conversation. Well, I'm going to be having conversations, but the hot takes are a small narrative. So there's an opportunity for the sound design to kind of really make it a more fun experience for the listener.
Sure. How long does it take in general to produce the narrative for the episode?
The writing's the longest part. I mean, and that's because I'll do my best to stay on our time limit for you because I'm a wordy guy and I definitely can sit there and write 6 pages of copy knowing that I really only need about a page and a quarter for
Okay.
what that episode should be. I think when I put the podcast together last fall and when we dropped at the end of December, I already had about 10 episodes done.
Mhm.
And so at that point, the first few took the longest because it was kind of cracking the template. Here's the music I want to hear. Here's what the intro and outro were going to sound like. So every episode for now kind of matches each other. And then it's a little bit in the middle about like, okay, do I have enough here? Do I want to add something here? But I mean, once the writing's done, I can get the show itself done in just a few hours because I really have created a template for it.
I love it. As my business partner would say, you got to have a process. And in
Oh
that
yeah.
process, there is a template. I am curious, being able to sit down and write copy,
Yeah.
even if it's 10, 15 minutes worth of copy, that's hard to do, at least from my lens. And I'm curious, what's your background and is this what you're doing now with Rockfight? Is this a natural extension of your skills and expertise? So tell us a little bit about the earlier life of Colin True.
That's a great question. It's called the Rock Fight, and I called my company Rock Fight because a friend told me he liked that name as a brand idea because and it's the tagline is because everything is a rock fight.
Right.
And and I think there's a positive way. There could be it can be an optimistic or a cynical way of looking at that, but I think there's some truth to it. And so to answer your question, I think that it was a bit of a rock fight. I think I definitely coming out of high school in the early '90s and going into college, kind of the generation of just go to college because you should go to college. And I didn't really have much direction about why I was going to college. I just did. And the best thing I did when I was in college for the few years that I was there was I was a radio DJ, the college radio DJ.
Mm, okay.
And I actually left school intending to go try and make it as a DJ. And that was really hard in the '90s because radio was big and there were a lot of people who wanted to do that and not a lot of jobs. And instead of just grinding and working my way up, I kind of got a job working retail. And before I knew it, I was in the outdoor industry for 25 years. So, but I'd always enjoyed writing. I was an English major. It just didn't really compare that to where my kids are now, where it's constantly like, look, the world's your oyster. There's so many ways to do so many different things. It's much more socially acceptable to wait to go to college if you want to, find real reasons to go to school, things like that. I've taken a longer route to get there. I have no regrets. My career working for brands like Timberland and Smartwool and Goo Energy Labs and Polar Tech was a wonderful experience, and frankly, gave me the knowledge to do this show because it's all based off of my experiences, both as an enthusiast doing outdoor activities, but also working for those brands and being in those situations. But yeah, it just kind of I always loved the write, even as I was having that career. Dabbled in some music, dabbled in a lot of different things. And then when I kind of said, okay, that part of my life is behind me now, and I left my last job in about 2017, 18 timeframe, started dabbling with podcasting because it's funny how things come around. At the time, I couldn't get a job as a DJ in the '90s because there weren't enough jobs. Well, maybe not making money doing it, but anybody can have a podcast.
Yeah.
And I thought, let's give this a shot. And so for the past 4 or 5 years, it's been kind of going down this road, and it's pretty wonderful. It's, in terms of how it's getting very, um, corporate, I guess, in terms of who can actually have a real career in doing it,
Mhm.
but there's so many more access points, there's so many more ways to do it, and it really does feel like if you just put in the time and energy, you'll find an audience no matter what you do. And so as an opportunity, I'd much rather write out my episodes than just kinda wing it. So it's been a real opportunity for me to kind of hone my craft as a writer as well.
It's interesting is I can see like the breadcrumbs just little by little getting laid out there in front of you. And by the way, you'd mentioned your interest in music,
Mhm.
and that has totally has to have been an asset for you as you were laying down the music in the intro, throughout the track and the outro, because I'm like, I mean, last night I'm sitting trying to find music on these sites and getting a license.
Right.
I'm doing a series uh, uh, right now. Actually, we're going what is it? The Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism. I can say that now because it's actually underway. Yeah, and so I didn't want to find I didn't want some hip Chicago Northeast kind of music. I wanted something folksy, bluesy, and
Yeah.
so it was.
Yeah.
And I also I wanted to get right into it, like boom, 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 boom. And it took me a long time. And here you've got this background in music, and I could see you every episode. This is what I want. I want to do this. I want to use this. And so that definitely your background has been a huge asset as you're creating Rock Fight.
Yeah, I think it's the truth, the thing that everybody says, but everyone has a tough time believing. If you listen to the Gary V's of the world and everything, it's like, okay, well, I'm 47 right now, right? And it's like, so my parents' generation, that would be, well, you should be locked in with what you're doing. Why aren't you considering your retirement in 13 years, kind of thing, right? And it's like, no, I got a lot of time left to do this,
Mhm.
and so it has created that opportunity to kind of do something else now as I go forward. And you point out the creative aspect of it drawing from those other experiences of my life, it has been an asset. And it's a funny thing. I don't know what to tell you if you're going through this. Like you can spend days pouring through those catalogs. I mean, it's great that there's all this music available, and for whatever it is, $20 a month, you can have access to it all, but it can be incredibly overwhelming. And
Right.
sometimes you just have to like, okay, I'm going to pick these four and run it behind the narration and see what it sounds like. And every once in a while, like you do that and you're like, okay, that'll work. Or you move on to the next one if it doesn't work, you know?
That's literally what happened last night. I'm
You're
like,
right.
and as I was going back, as I had read through your site, I had
Mhm.
prepared the show notes because we were supposed to do this episode a week ago.
Yeah,
That's
apologies.
cool. Hey, not a problem. But as I was doing the music, I was actually thinking back to your episodes that you and I are going to chat today. Because I was like, wow, he's got music going through the entire thing. And now I'm like, I want to go back to some of my customers that I produce their podcast for.
Sure.
Let's change up this music. I don't want to do this artificially created sound. We're going to get some good stuff going.
You know,
So,
it could be a throwaway thing, but I mean, it's absolutely a tone setter, right? I mean, the whole thing of these hot takes, like you mentioned, they're short. They're supposed to be kind of fun. My thing on it is it's a informed opinion. So I really wanted something that was a little punchy, a little,
mhm,
but also not. It didn't. It's not a very serious, dramatic score, right? But it is also a very kind of light and poppy, kind of let set the tone going into this. And then when you hear what I'm talking about, hopefully you're in that mindset, right? And if you screw that up, it can screw up a whole episode or a whole show, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You mentioned approximate age. I'm probably a little bit older than you are. When the family is out with you and you're at the party, everybody's going, "Oh, how are you? What do you? So what do you do?"
Yeah.
Without you answering the question, what does your family say that you do?
Oh, that's see, yeah, good zag there. I don't know what they would say. I was because I was put in this position about a year ago when I was producing a podcast for Polar Tech, and I was at a back to school night with my two youngest kids. And somebody asked me what I did, and I chickened out and just said, in sales and marketing, because that's what I said for years, and it felt weird to say I'm a writer or a podcast producer.
Right.
And I've spent the past year like just owning that, like, no, that's what I do. This because it is. That's what I do full time now. Um, but if my kids, I think they would probably laugh and say, I don't know, Dad, what do you do? But it's a little I don't know if they see it as a career choice or just the thing that Dad sits in his office and now he's got a sound booth that
Yeah.
he stands in and yammers into a microphone all day. So I would hope at least one of them would say he makes podcasts. I hope that's what one of them would say.